Well, flippity floop, it's something Swedish today. It's an all-new, all-electric Volvo C40. Thing is, when I think of Sweden, I think of four things. There's obviously Swedish meatballs, there's IKEA, there's that inexplicable rotten fish that people eat as part of a deer, and of course there's Volvo. And this particular Volvo, the C40, will set you back just under $88,000, and for that you get 438 Ks per charge. Now, there's a lot more to unpack in this car. It's got a lot of gadgetry hidden under the hood, or as they call it in Sweden, the Motorway. See, I did my research. So let's crack into it. Styling-wise, the front isn't exactly beautiful, but it makes up for it in the rear with large buttresses and striking tail light design. And check out that massive glass roof, which comes standard in all models. Speaking of which, this is the lower performance P6 model with 170 kilowatts driving its 19-inch front wheels, and it has a battery of 69 kilowatt hours delivering a 0 to 100 time of 7.2 seconds. So it's no slouch, and on the subject of slouching, let's take a look at that interior, which is comfortable and spacious, well, in the front at least, with a stupidly adjustable heated steering wheel plus electronically adjustable seated heats with adjustable lumbar support too, and enough room for even the tallest of Swedes. In steerage, however, rear seat passengers might find the headroom a bit tight. I'm 5'10" and my head was almost touching the roof. As for gadgets, the 9-inch center display runs on Android, which means you get all those Android-y benefits like endless apps, but it still has wired Apple CarPlay if you're an iPerson, with 2 USB ports and a 12-volt outlet in the front, and 2 more USB ports in the center console, which has air vents, and the air conditioning system uses a heat pump, so it's super efficient. So you get the idea, lots and lots and lots of gadgets as standard, but also a large amount of room, with the boot measuring in at 413 litres. And when you put the seats down, there's so much room you can just about lie down in there. Plus, all that storage means the PSC is an impressive 51. And there's also 31 litres of storage under the Motorway housing the emergency charger, which is included as standard. But enough talking, let's see how this Volvo actually drives. My first feeling of getting in this car, and I only just picked this up this morning, is that it feels big. It's pretty big. I mean, it's not as big as a Tesla Model Y though. Tesla Model Y is 33 centimeters longer and 31 centimeters taller than this. That being said, it's got that tapping on glass Polestar-like indicator sound, and there are a lot of similarities between this and the Polestar too. They use a lot of the same stuff. However, this one, as I was saying, feeling-wise, it doesn't feel like a Polestar. It doesn't even feel like a Tesla, despite its big center display and its lack of buttons. It feels really unique, like something I haven't driven before. The seating position on the road is much higher than the last couple of cars I've been driving. Despite its higher road presence, it does not have any wallow. It feels really tight. This feels like a much more expensive car. And that's quite a treat, because I've been driving some more affordable vehicles. And I love affordable vehicles because I'm a tightwad. But this does feel like a little bit of a step up, and I like that. Oh, okay, so it is a front-wheel drive car. It is 170 kilowatts with a 330 Newton-meter torque motor driving those front wheels. And that means, as you just heard, it's going to struggle to put its feet on the pavement. That's a lot of power for a front-wheel drive car. Now, there is a four-wheel drive version with more range and more everything. I'll explain that later. But this is the more everyday man's version of the Volvo C40. Right now, as a city car, it feels really good. Feels really refined. Really nice. Big difference to the last few vehicles I've been driving. What absolutely miserable weather we've got, as usual, but despite that, it's quite a nice place to be. As dark as it is inside, it matches the dark, gloomy weather outside, and of course that cathedral-like glass ceiling lets a lot of light in, and it makes this very dark interior not quite so foreboding. And that's one complaint I have about the car, is that this is it. You better enjoy this dark grey and black interior, because that's all you're going to have. As I mentioned in the intro, the car has an Android-based operating system. So all the gadgetry that you want to run in the car, the heating, the power controls, all that stuff, it all operates through an Android operating system. And the good news is it's connected to Google Play so that you can run all your Google apps off the phone. You can actually go into the Google App Store and load apps onto your car as if it was a giant cell phone. And that brings me to my next point. This car has wireless phone charging. So let me grab my strangely shaped phone and see if it fits in there. Yes, it does. It's a tight fit though, because I do have a really weirdly long shaped one. It's charging, wirelessly charging. There you go, wireless charging that fits my weirdly shaped Doogee S98 phone. And while we're talking about the interior, I should draw your eyes to these cool patterns on both the door skins and on the space above the glove box. And what they are topographical maps of cities in Sweden. Not only that, the one above the glove box, it is a topographical map of Gotham City. Or is it Gothenburg? Same thing. In Sweden, how cool is that? Much like Tesla, they've done away with buttons largely, so it means that if I want to turn on one pedal driving, which I do, drive modes, pilot assist, no, speed limiter, no, one pedal drive. See, I had to go through all those menus to turn that, hey, oh, good lord, it works though, far out. That's the car slowing down by itself. Okay, let me not hold up any traffic, but wow, that is some intense regen braking. So as I take my foot off the accelerator, what's happening is the motor is sort of, you could say, running in reverse. It's then collecting the kinetic energy as the car's slowing down and turning that into electrical resistance and putting it back as electricity back into the battery bank. So basically, it's not going to turn it into a perpetual motion machine. It's not going to drive forever, but it does give you about 15 or so, 20% more range. Look at that, it's slowing the car down. It means that you can basically drive in most city situations, if you're using your brain, without touching the brake. And that means you can just relax and just use one pedal to drive. Hence the name, one pedal driving. That is wicked. Now it doesn't have any power modes, however. Oh gosh, I've got to get used to that. It doesn't have any power modes. It's much like the Polestar, it is all the power all the time. There's no sport, eco, whatever mode. So keep that in mind. Gosh, the regen braking is intensely strong. I don't think I can change it either, but I can change, and this is handy in the city, I can change the steering feel. Now right now the steering feels fine to me, but I can take off steering firmness, and oh wow, that is very much like pudding. People behind me probably think I've lost my mind, but wow, that's going to make driving through the city really easy. And another thing I want to point out is that the pillars are not too thick. Although one criticism I have already is that the view from the rear window is microscopic. It is smaller than, okay, well this is a family show, so I'm not going to use that joke, but let me just say that the water was very cold that day and the view is very tiny, so you do need to use the reversing camera. Now the car does not have a heads-up display, however that's not a big deal because it does have a central display in the instrument cluster, which is really high definition, and it means you can have your Google Maps data there, and that frees up the central display for more important stuff, such as apps that you've downloaded from the Play Store, or I've right now got my range assistant on, and that's showing me that I have about 340 k's per charge left. However, if I press range optimizer, it'll say, are you sure? Do you want to turn it on? Because it does limit your climate control options. Yep, turn it on. The range now goes up to 360 k's per charge. Now, I'm no Volvologist, but I do know that Volvo are going all in with electric cars. In fact, within 2 years, they plan on having 50% of all the models produced pure electric. No engines, no hybrid stopgap nonsense, just pure electric. And as someone, one, who likes electric cars, and two, like you, was born with a respiratory system and a general understanding of how climate change works, that's really good news. That sounds really good. And what also sounds good in this car, and here's a good segue, is the sound system. And this isn't even the top spec one. The top spec one is the Harman Kardon system. This is just the regular sound system, and it's still one of the better ones I've tested, as you're about to hear. But first, here comes some family-friendly information. Starting with child seats, and the car has 2 lots of ISOFIX connections on the back seat, which is 120 centimeters wide.
Ah, why do I keep doing that?
Now there are 2 models to choose from, so let me explain them while I play this Volvo video, which is far cooler than anything I could ever make. So yeah, there are 2 C40 models to choose from. There's the entry-level version I'm driving, confusingly called the Volvo C40 Plus Recharge Pure Electric. But then there's the higher spec version, which is 15 grand more, known as the C40 Ultimate, which is all-wheel drive with 300 kilowatts, a higher range of 450 k's per charge, and a 0 to 100 time of 4.7 seconds. The Ultimate also comes with some features that this Plus model doesn't have, such as better parking cameras, a better sound system with a subwoofer, and an air purifier, and 20-inch wheels. But both versions can tow, with the Plus having a towing limit of 1,500 kilos, while the Ultimate's limit is 1,800 kilos. As for connectivity, the car comes with free data for 4 years, and regardless of which model you go with, even the entry-level sound system I thought was quite good, as you can hear for yourself. but enough talking, let's get this car on the motorway. It's a new day and we are off across to the other side of town. I've got to run some errands and this is going to be a great excuse for me to test the lane keeping assist and the adaptive cruise control. This is also a good test of the reversing camera. Now, the mirrors aim down when you put the car in reverse, which is great in a nice flat area, but when you're in Auckland, which is really hilly and you need to look up hills, it's kind of tricky. So it means you have to rely on the back window and this reversing camera. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, the back window is microscopic. It's actually kind of comical. I mean, seriously, look at this. Seriously, you cannot see a thing out of there. Yeah, you could get rid of that tiny headrest, but that's still a tiny, tiny window. So you really do have to rely on this rear vision camera. Anyway, today I'm on a mission to go and get a new electric lawnmower battery for my electric mower. This will be a good chance to get on the motorway and test the adaptive cruise control and the lane keeping assist. Now, some cars, when it comes to lane keeping assist, they are excellent. For example, the BMW iX M60, possibly the best I've tested. It feels like there's an actual human driving the car. It's that good, it's that perceptive, that confident. Then there are cars that have really good systems, not bad systems. For example, the Opel Mokka-e or the Peugeot E208. Not bad systems, pretty good. And then there are cars at the other end of the scale, such as the MG ZS EV or the BYD Atto 3, which are not so good, not so confident, very nomadic around the lanes. And the thing is, good lane keeping assist requires good hardware, and good hardware is expensive. That's why it's really hard to have quality lane keeping assist in cheaper cars. This is not a cheaper car, so I have very high expectations. All right, let's get it fired up. First thing, I'm going to put on pilot assist, and then I'm going to select steering assist and lane keeping aid. Okay, now I'm going to set the cruise control. Okay, adaptive cruise control is on. Lane keeping assist is on. Let's see how it goes. All right, and while the car is driving itself and I'm judging it silently, let me tell you a little bit about the economy. Now, this car has a 69 kilowatt hour battery, which 67 of those are usable. And that gives it an effective maximum range of 438 k's per charge. The problem is, that's according to the WLTP cycle, a cycle in which they test in a series of scenarios, accelerating, slowing down traffic, average speeds, and then they estimate based on that how far the car can go. The problem is those are often California kilometers, I like to say they are. And in the real world, the real New Zealand world, things are really different. We've got hills, we've got miserable weather, we've got strong winds like today, and that all plays a part on the range. So let's see what the real world range is over the next couple of days. I suspect it's probably going to get something closer to 360, 380 k's per charge in Kiwi conditions. Watch this space. Now, the economy for this car, the official stats are 18 kilowatt hours or units of electricity per 100 k's. Think of that like 18 litres of electricity per 100 k. Now, that's not bad, but what's my actual consumption? Let's find out. Oh, right now actually we're using 13 kilowatt hours or 13 units of electricity, 14 per 100k. That's not actually too bad. That's about the same as every other electric car. Gee, easy, Tiger. Crikey. So that's not too bad. 10, okay, it's dropped down, but on average doing about 14 kilowatt hours per 100k. That's not too bad. Let's see how we go in a longer distance drive. In the meantime, I need to navigate this vehicle to my destination, and I can use the voice assist function. Navigate to Lincoln Road.
Navigating to 8 Lincoln Road.
Sweet, it works. I love this stuff, man. This is great. We're living in the future. This is brilliant. 20 years ago, this stuff didn't exist. We just take it for granted now. I love it. It's brilliant. Mind you, I'm the sort of person that still gets excited over things like power steering. I just think it's an amazing invention. That explains why I'm just so generally enthusiastic about electric cars. Because they're brilliant. They're like the thing we used to have in the past, but better. The last 10, 12 kilometers or so, I've been doing all the driving, or the car's been doing all the driving, using the lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise. It's been braking, it's been steering, it's been accelerating, it's doing it all itself. And honestly, it's doing a very good job. One of the better systems, definitely one of the better systems. And you're paying for it. You're paying for that high-tech stuff. However, I've been stuck behind diesel trucks for a while. Recirculate air.
Sure, circulating the air.
Oh, sweet! It's got voice commands to get rid of the diesel. It's got city steering mode on. The steering is super light. The adaptive cruise works a treat. The suspension is sublime, it's quiet. However, one complaint I do have, and that is this nice shiny black center console finish that is guaranteed to be scratched to death within about 12 months. That's unfortunate. I wish that there was some sort of cover you could get that applied to this to stop it being inevitably scratched, because it will. Oh, and while we're talking complaints, here's another little complaint, and this is the same complaint I had about the Polestar too, is that the gap between the steering wheel and the dashboard has this creased vinyl effect. And if you have the steering wheel up nice and high, you're not going to notice. But if you're like me, you like to have the steering wheel down a little bit low, then yeah, you're going to see this British Leyland creased vinyl there. Not a big fan of that. And I have myself a brand new extra lawnmower battery, so now I can mow twice as much without any emissions. Honestly, electric is the future. You probably already knew that if you're watching this video. And this brings me to my next point. Thank you very much to those of you who have liked and subscribed videos in the past, and you know what's coming right now. I'm going to ask you to do the same. Please like and subscribe. It helps a great deal. It helps this channel grow. Some of the videos are actually now being seen by people, even people outside New Zealand. It's epic. For those of you that have done that, that pressed that little like and that subscribe button, costs you nothing, makes a big impact. You guys rock. I owe you a potato. Yes, a huge thanks go to everyone who's pressed that like or the subscribe button, and also thanks must go to Ecotricity, which makes these videos possible. Ecotricity is New Zealand's only carbon zero certified electricity provider, and that means every single electron is only generated from wind, hydro and solar and nothing else. So why not join the good fight and slash your carbon footprint, save a bit of money and get some green cred at ecotricity.co.nz. And it's time for a long distance road trip. We're going to take this car 200 kilometers away from here. We're in Auckland Central right now. Our destination is Tikuiti, and you've probably noticed all the stuff in the back. Well, this is not just some arbitrary go to point A, go to point B road trip. This is actually testing the car's loading capacity, because I'm moving house and I thought, well, why not use this? Let's see if it actually can haul stuff. Okay, so right now you can see through this camera that we have 100% charge showing on the dashboard. Now let's go and turn on the range optimizer. Turn on, please. That will limit the climate control, but now it says we're going to get 380 k's out of one charge, and that's based on the driving I've been doing, based on my driving style in the city over the last 3 days, which has been, well, it's been enthusiastic. And I'm settled in for a long drive. I got the adaptive cruise set, I have lane keeping assist on, the car's basically driving itself, and it's a genuinely pleasant surprise how good the system is. I didn't expect it. It's like walking into a health food store and behind the counter there's someone that looks really healthy. Really unusual to see in a health food store. This is the same thing. It's really unexpected but really pleasant surprise. So the adaptive cruise is set. It says my economy right now is 17.7 kilowatt hours per 100k, and it says by the time we get to Tikuiti we're going to have 37% charge remaining. Let's see how accurate that is. We'll find out. I'll give you an update when we get there. And welcome to Tikuiti. We've made it. Okay, let's look at the economy. My average economy is now 18.7 kilowatt hours. So that's just a little bit over the official stats. And that means that basically you're more likely to get 370 k's or so per charge driving the way I have been driving with all that weight in the back. That doesn't mean that that 438 k's per charge isn't possible. It's definitely doable. You just got to drive more economically, and that's hardly a newsflash. Economy improves when you drive economically. All right, let me get rid of all this stuff, and then we're going to talk charging. Let's talk charging. Now, this car comes with a granny charger, also called an emergency charger, that plugs into a regular wall outlet. Let's plug it in. Piece of cake. The only problem is this thing charges slowly. So it's now trickle charging. You can see the battery's at 43%. If I left it plugged in, it's not going to finish charging until almost 24 hours from now. That's madness. And you can see the charging speed, it's only 10 kilometers an hour. The best option, in my opinion, is to use a wall-mounted charger, either a 7 kilowatt or 11 kilowatt charger, which could charge a car like this from flat to full in about 7 hours. That's pretty awesome. But there is another option, which is DC rapid charging. For that, we got to go down the road. Okay, right in front of me is one of ChargeNet's hundreds of rapid chargers. What I'm going to do is just plug in for a moment to give you an idea of the charging speed on a rapid charger. You simply start by opening your car's charging flap, and then you take the corresponding plug. Now this plug is CCS, the style, and this charger has CCS and CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO is mainly for Nissan Leafs and older cars. And, oops, with juggling with one hand, you plug it in. Now the next step is to use your ChargeNet mobile app or swipe your key fob. I will swipe my key fob. Okay, and you press start. Now you can set this to charge at 80% or press the button to make it charge all the way full. Most electric car drivers on a road trip will just charge to 80% because that last 20% often takes the same amount of time as that first 80%. Now we're already at 45% and I'm just going to charge for 5 minutes to show you what speed it ramps up to. So it's been 3 or 4 minutes and I've seen the car has ramped up to 208 kilometers an hour, its charging speed. Or in English, that's 47 kilowatts that charger is putting into the car. Now that means that we're going to be full, or at least up to 80% full, in about 30 minutes. Now, that's not bad. That's pretty good. That was what a rapid charger can deliver. But there's another level up called a hyper rapid charger. And I'm excited to see how fast this car will charge on that. All right, so I'm going to unplug now and head north. I headed north 150 k's to the hyper rapid charger, and in the meantime noticed a couple of very strange accessories in a modern car. And I've not seen this in any car in recent history. This is weird. Is this? Check this out. There's an actual ashtray. An ashtray in a new car. That is baffling. But I've got the next best thing. Kiwi Spaceman candy. Get that going. There we go. All of us, when we were kids, we all pretended they were cigarettes, right? Don't deny it, we all did it. And naturally, because I'm of Volvo buying age, my next confectionery was a Werther's Original. Why is this in plastic? I have no idea. It just seems like another thing we have to recycle. But here's something really cool about this car. This is another thing I've never seen in any other vehicle, and that is right down here by my side is a rubbish bin. Like an in-dash rubbish bin. Check this out. Drop my rubbish in there. Problem solved. That is freaking wicked. Why doesn't every car have this? And here is the off-ramp for the hyper rapid chargers. Now I should point out, I don't know how fast this car recharges. I really don't know what its maximum charging speed is. When I was researching this car, sometimes I put my hand over the screen to make sure it was going to be a surprise when we find out how fast it charges, because the chargers we're going to, there's 2 of them, and they can charge both 300 kilowatts each, and they can charge 3 cars at once. These are game changer chargers. So let's go and plug in and find out how really fast this thing charges. Is it going to disappoint me or is it going to blow me away? We'll find out. Chargers are popular today. Lots of Kiwis in electric cars. What a great thing. All right, same as before. Go and swipe the key fob. Select CCS. Fortunately, these hyper rapid chargers have 2 CCS plugs, which is great because they're the most common type. You take the flashing light one, and the cables on these are really long, which is fantastic. Never going to struggle getting the plug in. Okay, let's go find out how fast it is. So check that out, that is impressive. 703 kilometers an hour it's charging at. 135 kilowatts, good lord, that's a little bit faster than the last charger. These hyper rapid chargers, they are epic. Okay, let's see how long it takes. Right, wait for it, there we go. 80%, from 20% to 80% in 24 minutes and 30 seconds. That is pretty good. All right, let's hit the road. And we're approaching Auckland City, and if I were to summarize this car, and I probably should because this is nearing the end of the video, I would say it's got decent bang for buck. The price, $88,000, isn't the most affordable electric car in New Zealand, but it's certainly not the most expensive. And you do get a lot of European quality for your dollar. You get reasonably good range, you get quite impressive acceleration for a front-wheel drive car. It drives sublimely. It's eaten up those 400 kilometers I've driven over the last couple of days, eaten them up like that. The only complaints I really have is that exterior styling it's not really radical. It's kind of safe, and maybe that's probably a good thing because it is a very safe car. Overall, I really like the car. It's a decent machine. Very, very decent machine. Honestly, it's got a rubbish bin as well, so I can keep my innermost thoughts in there. It's fantastic. This thing is definitely worth its weight in Swedish meatballs.